My dear friends, and all of you gathered here, ministers of religion of one shade or the other, I'd like to warmly greet all of you and heartily welcome you to this launch exercise, the launch of an invitation to all of us here in Ghana, July, to observe 2 minutes of praise and gratitude to God, 2 minutes of raising our minds and hearts in gratitude to God for all His bounteous goodness and favors to us in this land. The nature of this has just been presented to us by Mrs. Morton and echoed by Mr. Ojelo Ozonya this morning. I just wish to share a brief reflection on the occasion and this launch and the invitation and the content of it. My dear friends, in 1986, the initiative of one leader of religion also brought together various religious groups from around the world, and they gathered in the Italian town or city of Assisi in the fall, beginning of November, and that was the World Day of Prayer for Peace. And it was in response to the initiative of the former Pope John Paul II of blessed memory, and at his invitation at Assisi, leaders of all known religions on the face of the earth gathered at Assisi for a day of prayer. At that time, I was just a student in Rome, but I was invited to give particular assistance to somebody from the traditional religion who had been invited from Ghana, and I was his page, if you want, accompanying him wherever he went. But on that day in Assisi, all religious leaders from around the world gathered to pray and to live the world in gratitude to God and to pray about peace. Today, we gathered here at the initiative of another person. This time, Mrs. Morton and his movement, the Praise Minute, to do something similar. Probably not on the level of the world, not on the world level, but on the level of, on a national level, a level of us here in Ghana, bringing all of us from the difference and the diversity of religions and faiths to commit ourselves to supporting this invitation, July, to have our membership and following observe 2 minutes of silence and prayer and gratitude to God. So I'd like to commend and thank the members of the Praise Minute for this initiative, for the courage and for the tenacity of will, and for the conviction of faith which they have displayed in carrying this to this stage. They've not only brought all of us together as leaders of the various religions in Ghana, but they have also brought the government of Ghana along with it. And here this morning, we're all about to commit and to give our consent and commitment to this exercise come the 1st July. We are invited in July to just exercise, set aside 2 minutes of our day, of our time, of our lives in gratitude to God. And digging into the vocabulary of the type of religion I come from, there are 2 expressions which are used to express this sentiments of gratitude and thanksgiving which is offered to God. On the part of the Old Testament, they use an expression, hodah, which just means basically to make known, to acknowledge, to spread the knowledge and recognition of favors that God has done for us. Thanksgiving is therefore an act of confession. It's an act of confession which invites us to confess, to make public, to acknowledge the good deeds and the favors of God that we enjoy and that we benefit from. If it is the Greek of the New Testament, that will be eucharisto. And that again is to consider and to announce well the charisms, the favors, the goodness again that God is bestowed on us. Here in Ghana, if we take those two expressions of gratitude, we would have a lot to give thanks to God for, would have a lot to confess, would have a lot to acknowledge, and would have a lot to celebrate. That's what we all committed ourselves to doing on that, to celebrate our favors, the goodness, and the benefits of all the favors that God has bestowed on us in this land. And as we do this today, we want to just zero in on particularly the role of peace and the gift of peace that we benefit and that we enjoy in this land. So I stand here, and particularly on behalf of the Catholic Church in Ghana, to commit and to pledge our support to this initiative and to say that we shall proclaim and announce this message all over Ghana in all our churches and all our parishes and all our outstations, that come July, we shall sound our bells, we shall make our cries, and endeavor to stop for 2 minutes to raise our minds and hearts in gratitude to God for all his favors that we enjoy here in Ghana and this land, particularly for the gift of peace. But since the confession of God's favor is also the intercession and asking of other favors, we shall not only be praising and thanking God for his benefits and particularly for the gift of peace, it will be an occasion for us at the same time to also intercede and to pray about the continued enjoyment of these favors in our land, particularly again the gift of peace. It will be a big moment for us to intercede and to pray about that, particularly in the light and in view of what we, the great exercise of democracy, that we shall all be putting ourselves into next year. And we do not want to wait for next year to pray about the peaceful conduct of everything that would happen. We want to start already now, thanking God and praying for the peaceful conduct of everything that would happen next year. So, on behalf of the Catholic Church then, we want to commend you, members of the praise ministry, for the initiative, and we just commend you because we've seen you an invitation to kind of realize here in Ghana what our leader did for the whole world in 1986. We commend you and we thank God for your lives and for the courage of this initiative that you've brought to bear today. And we do not only want to commend you and thank you for this, but we want to also express to you today the commitment of the Catholic Church in Ghana to be with us and to thank God, but to make this a constant exercise in our life and in our church as long as we exist and enjoy God's favor in this land. Thank you. Thank all of you. May God bless and keep you. For me, this is not a novelty. This is not a new experience. As I observed, this has happened before. We've witnessed this in the history of humanity before, when the initiative of one man brought people of different faiths together to express their faith in one God and so pray to that God. That has happened before. And on that occasion, this was 86, as I said, it was at the instance of one person, Pope John Paul II. And today, what we did is, again, another such experience at the instance of one person. We've gotten together recognizing that we, all of us here in Ghana, can exercise our common priesthood, as it were, either as Muslims, whatever. And common priesthood means that the function of praying, the function of placing ourselves before God, to acknowledge his favors, to thank him for them, and to also intercede about our various needs. So, for me,